Shoots and Scores Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey. I am John.
Mike.
I'm Chris.
Okay, guys, all three of us tonight. Let's go for the first time in 3 weeks or 4, or I lost track. It's good to have everybody back,
Yeah.
On the panel so that we can go over what in the hell is going on, because I'm still wondering what's going on. So our first topic for tonight's discussion is what a difference a week can make. When last we chatted, Mike, the Oilers had won game 1 in overtime. And Mike, you were adamant. You were very adamant that Florida better pick it up or they're going to be toast. Maybe the Oilers would win. You were saying maybe they could win in 5 if things didn't change. I mean, Let's be honest here. That's what you said. And obviously things have changed a great deal. Now, not only are the Oilers not going to win in 5, it's impossible for them to win in 5 because now Florida has a 2-1 lead, and they're playing tonight. We're recording on Thursday night. They're playing tonight. So, what's going to go on here, guys? I want to know what has changed and what changed so damn quickly. I'm going to ask the both of you. Mike, since you kind of gave us the lowdown last week, why don't we start with you? What the hell happened?
Well, the Florida Panthers decided to play like the Florida Panthers. Like I said, I don't know what they were doing in that first game, but the second game, they were more creative. They were more physical. They played their style of game, which took the Oilers a little bit off their game. Now, when I say that they played their style of game, they played it even more so in game 3. The Oilers were they were done in that game. Like there was nothing they were going to be able to do the way that game was going. They were taking too many penalties. They were letting the Panthers get under their skin. Then they lit up Skinner, which it was just a matter of time before I think that happened. So they played perfect Florida Panther hockey. All their players were productive. They did everything right. That's basically it. And Edmonton didn't have an answer for it. And seeing Ekblad flatten McDavid, like that, didn't even really get a response from anybody on the ice when it happened. So this is Florida's series to lose now. There's no way they're going to lose this game tonight. They're not going to lose this series the way it's going.
Chris, you want to add anything to Mike's? He just demoralized everything I thought of in one shot right there. What do you think?
Well, yeah, after I watched last week's podcast there, I didn't think Florida had a chance after Mike's little game 1 rant on how terrible they played. So I was a big believer. I went to the bank. I remortgaged my house. I placed a big bet on it that the Oilers are going to win this series. I believe in probably a week I'm going to be kicked out of the house with my wife and 2 kids, and I guess I'm going to move into Mike's place, right? Because
he
was pretty confident that Florida was terrible and toast and done.
What I said was if they continued to play like they did in game 1, they would have been toast.
Yes.
And I would say, is this a PG podcast?
No.
No? Okay, good. Because I'd say for Florida's how they played in game 1 and how Edmonton played in game 3, I'm going to say shit happens, right? It is hard to play at the level they have to play every game. It's tough mentally and physically to get through the playoffs, and sometimes you're going to have that bad game, right? I wouldn't blame totally on Skinner, even though we kind of knew Skinner eventually was going to fall apart.
I didn't really think that was all Skinner's fault. Yeah.
No, there were some goals that he didn't have a chance on that.
Yeah. And I think Skinner for game 4, doesn't he have a ridiculous record coming into game 4s in the playoffs?
I don't know.
It's something. It's they were calling Mr. I think they were calling Boucher, the goalie Boucher, Mr. Game 4, and then Skinner had a couple of great game 4s and might be both shutouts. I can't remember.
Okay, yes,
his numbers are through the roof. But it's a grind, and like Mike said, Florida did not play well in game 1. Edmonton did not play well in game 3. I think going forward for the Oilers to win this, it's on Draisaitl. It's on McDavid. It's on Bouchard, who people think are one of the best defensemen in the league now. And Nugent Hopkins, right? These guys have to be the bus drivers. They can't rely on Kapanen and Arvidsson and these other guys to continue to play like they have been. To Oilers to win this, we have to see McDavid, Draisaitl 4 points a game, or Florida is going to win this series.
And
Okay.
to add just a little bit onto that is one of the sports commentators was talking today and saying that Edmonton's bottom two lines far overproduced in the first 3 rounds, and they've done nothing this series, and that is probably going to be the difference right there.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're going to get into that more
Okay.
at the end here, but I want to just add this little tidbit. So the Oilers were basically one shot away from being up 2-0. I mean, technically, because the first 2 games went to overtime, right? But you have to look at that on the other side of the coin. They were also one shot away from being down 2-0.
Yep.
I mean, really. So with both games going into overtime, like I said, why was Game 3 so lopsided? Was it all Florida? Were the Oilers just that bad? Like Chris is kind of saying, maybe the Oilers were just that bad.
Yeah.
It's to a certain extent, yes. But I mean, Florida back at home, they've had a great home record there for years. Was able to put the pressure on and play their style of game, like more like the first game they didn't play their style whatsoever. Second game they started to come around, and if Edmonton had won that second game, who knows what would have happened in the third game. But winning that game 2 in overtime, I think gave Florida a little more confidence. And they came out at home, played their style to perfection. The Oilers were rattled, taking too many penalties. Wallman got fined twice for the same game. So Nugent Hopkins is playing hurt because he's not practicing. So
they had a too many men on the ice penalty.
Yeah. So I mean, and Bobrovsky has played great. And like I said, even in game 1 when they lost, if it wasn't for Bobrovsky, that game would have been, the Oilers would have scored 6 or 7 goals. So I think that Florida's got it back on track though, and it's going to be tough tonight for the Oilers. So if Florida comes out flying like they did last game, it could go 5 games for Florida as opposed to 5 games for Edmonton. So we'll have to see.
All right. I think the Oilers are going to be ready to go tonight.
Well,
that's what I want to ask you, Chris. I wanted to ask you, do you think that the Oilers are going to win tonight? I'm not going to bother asking Mike because I already know.
Yeah, I can't say they're going to win, but their effort level and the compete level, this game should be exciting as the first couple of games were. Right, it should be probably it could end up being the best game of the series tonight if both teams come with the energy required to play. Will I say the Oilers are going to win? I don't know if I can say that because again, Skinner, I know he's Mr. Game 4, but this might be where he finally runs into it.
I think we're going to know within the first 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, if Edmonton's come to play,
how it's going to go, because if Florida can get a goal or 2 quick, then you know what, I think that's going to be the writing on the wall right there.
All right. Okay. Well, let's move on. You guys kind of got into the second topic, so we're just going to move on to the third topic, and that's fine. That's good. We like when things move along.
Efficiency.
It is efficient. A lot more efficient than the Oilers were the other night, I can tell you that. But anyway, it's expected that Skinner is going to start tonight for the Oilers. At least that's what I had read.
Yeah.
I want to know is, can he win this damn game? Can he win the whole thing? How short is the leash going to be on Skinner tonight?
He's Mr. Game 4. I just said this. This is what he's as a child. He's grown up. He's grown up just dreaming of Game 4 victories in the playoffs. That's what he does. But I'm sure it'll be a short lease again if he gets lit up early again.
Yeah.
What do you think? 2 goals, 3 goals? What do you think? 4? What?
Should be 3.
1?
3 in the first period.
I think 3 as well. 3 is generally the number, but it all depends how quick he gives up the 3 goals. So if Florida gets 3 in the first period and the Oilers are down 2 or 3, then he's getting pulled.
If if Skinner gets pulled early and their backup comes in the net, can he win the game?
Well, it
If
depends what
if McDavid and
his
Draisaitl,
team is. Yeah.
yeah, if those two line it up, of course they can.
We've been talking about the goalies for Edmonton for the whole playoffs. We've gone on about right from the LA series.
Mm-hmm.
We're both kind of all three of us were a little bit flabbergasted by how this whole thing worked out. I don't think we were wrong to be a little bit flabbergasted by what was going on. I still think Skinner is a good goalie. He is unflappable when he lets in a whole shit ton of goals and then comes back the next game for whatever reason. He just seems to play so well after he bombs. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that before in my life, especially in the playoffs. Do you guys ever remember seeing anything like that before from anyone else?
I can't recall, to be honest.
Did
I can't
Belfour
either.
did Belfour have a couple of blow-ups back in his days in Chicago? I thought he was kind of got pulled a few times, I thought, and came back.
Probably.
Yeah.
But man, this guy's doing it every series. It's happening. It's just crazy. Well,
I've
maybe not
seen
every series.
Brizgalov give up tons of goals in a
Oh,
game and then come
yeah.
back the next game and give
Yeah.
up a ton more. But the Flyers would win because they were scoring just as many back when they played Pittsburgh.
Yeah, win 7-6.
It was like,
Sure.
yeah, like there was like I think it was the highest scoring series in playoff history. All the games, the first 3 or 4 games were like 7-6, 6-5, whatever the case was. But so
He was focused on bears in the woods, right? Is
yeah,
that what
he
his
was.
focus
Yeah,
was?
he was focused on a lot of things other than stopping the puck.
Alien abduction, I think, was one of those things.
Alien abductions, bears. Yeah.
All right, all right. Well, let's go on to our fourth topic now. This is all Chris. Chris, thank you for sharing this with us. This is Jfresh's Xpost. I always want to say Twitter, but I will switch to X.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Chris, you shared this with me, and I'm just going to read out loud here what the post said. It says, nobody hyping up the depth scoring wanted to admit it, but the Oilers' bottom six was running completely unsustainable for rounds 1 to 3. They were up 21-10 in goals, but tied 175 and 175 in shots at 5 versus 5. So far, they've regressed back to the mean in the final. Guys, what do you think of this post from Jfresh? So basically, it's saying that the bottom two lines were scoring more than 2-1 what they normally score with the exact same amount of shots in 5 versus 5. And that's not sustainable. And that's what the post is saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chris, what do you think of Jfresh? Is this guy crazy? Is this guy totally nuts?
No, it's hard facts. It's analytics. But I would assume if you go back into previous teams that made it to the Cup Finals or won the Cup, you're going to see guys scoring out of the norm, and I think that's the formula of getting this far.
Yes.
And
People
I
that
think
win the
that
Stanley Cup, it happens lots where certain players score a bunch of goals and you weren't expecting it.
you weren't expected. Yeah, I think somebody was talking about the Rangers when they won, right? Mark Messier gets all the love, and
Yeah.
Brian Leach and all those guys, but Stephane Matteau and Brian Newton, they scored at a level that they don't score ever.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think this is just a formula. You need all your players contributing to get you there. And if the Oilers' third and fourth line was even, let's say they scored only 10 or 11 goals like the opposition, they would not be here in the Stanley Cup Finals. Right. And I think that's what that tweet was all about, saying this was a big driver. Other than Draisaitl and McDavid doing what they do, the 3 and 4 line outplayed the other lines, and that's how they reached the finals. So it's not meant to be a slight. I think this is just how it works. But probably fanatics or people who don't pay attention to this, they ignore that, right? They're just like, our team's the best. We're there because we're best. Well, sometimes you need a little lady luck and you need some ebbs and flows. And if things are working your way, great. If they're not working your way, guess what? You lose, right? That's just how it works in sports.
Yeah, and this is where going into this series, where before the games even started, where I'd said that Florida had the edge when it comes to depth because their third line is a better scoring line by far than what Edmonton's third line is. I mean, Florida's
Sure.
third line is Lundell and Marchand and Lusterrainen, I believe it is. So
Yeah.
they're going to, like, they scored at a decent clip all season. So um, with that being said, the Oilers' third line has been, was sporadic through the season. It played very well through the first few rounds of the playoffs, and now, like as we just discussed, they've kind of come back down to earth here. So, um, and Florida being at home with getting the line change and the matchups they want really is a huge advantage to them. So, even probably more so than it is to the Oilers when they're at home. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the game tonight. I hope it's a good one. I think it's going to be high scoring, so we'll see what happens.
What do the Oilers have to do specifically to win tonight?
They got to keep their head focused on the game and not getting into all this. Like, if you've watched the last game in particular, after
Yep.
every whistle, there's a Florida player giving someone a shot, always. And Marchand did it, like, I think twice on the same after the whistle. He gave one guy a shot, then he's going to the bench and he gives another guy a shot. Just subtly, nothing warranting a penalty, but all those things over and over, like between him and Tkachuk and Bennett doing that stuff, someone's going to blow a fuse here eventually, and that's basically what happened. And then you got everybody on the ice fighting last game, and so and I mean Darnell Nurse in the corner. I mean, he cross-checked. I forget who it was, Lundell, I think, maybe cross-checked him like 3 or 4 good cross-checks, and eventually they called him for it. And then another Edmonton player, I can't remember who it was, Evander Kane, maybe, I'm not sure, cross-checked the Florida player, broke his stick in half on him after cross-checking him twice. So they just got to keep focused on the game and play their style. They're trying to play Florida's style. It seemed last game, it's not going to work for them. So they need to do their thing in order to get back into this series.
Chris, what do you think?
Yep. Nope, 100% agree. You got to avoid. Florida wants to get. They want to muck it up. They're going to Chuck and Marchand. They're going to try to get into your head and force you to do stupid stuff, and that leads to penalties, right? And um, that's what they do. Tampa's very similar. They got a lot of guys do the same thing, and you just got to avoid that. And from Edmonton's side, they're supposed to be an offensive juggernaut. Go out there and play that way. Don't worry about all this extra stuff. But
Right.
Nurse and Kane and Wallman, they're all getting caught up into this, and I don't understand why the coaching staff and the players even aren't talking to themselves, saying, "Guys, enough! Right? Get away from the scrums, avoid all that crap, and just
Right.
play."
And Edmonton needs to be on the power play, not on the penalty kill.
Yeah, yeah.
The more
And
you
just
keep Edmonton on the power play, the more goals that team is going to score. It's
Yes,
just no two ways about it.
absolutely.
And I just wanted to add on Mike's comment about their third line. Like, you look at it, Marchand and Lundell, they're second line players on
Yes.
very good teams,
Yeah.
and here they're on the third line. Like, I can't think of any other teams that have a third line built like that. So
No.
it's a big advantage.
Come on, the third lines for both teams are the same level of caliber. Come on, just
But I know what I know. We quickly talked about this too. Like, I think I showed you another X tweet, whatever you want to call it, about these three. Of the 4 teams that made it to the conference finals, 3 of them, their salary cap was over 95 million.
Yes,
Carolina
yes.
was under the cap, the only team under the cap.
right. That's right.
And
Yes.
these teams all had guys in LTR, so they're all kind of stacked. But even though they're stacked, Florida's third line just can't touch that.
Well, I mean, it's been a crazy playoff, I think. I mean, ever since Edmonton in the first round, we thought they were so done, or I thought they were done after the first 2 games in LA.
Should have been done. Should have been done.
And all they had to do, all that guy had to do, whoever it was, and I know you guys or Mike knows the player, I can't remember. All he had to do was clear the puck off the boards,
Highfield.
and he took 2 steps towards Bouchard there, who knocked it down somehow, and then 30 seconds later he scores, and series over. He scored that goal, and that was it.
You know what? You can also flip that in the other direction. Florida was down 2-0 and down 3-1 against the Leafs.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I know. All of a sudden,
well,
Stolarz is hurt and it's series
yeah.
over.
So both these teams kind of flipped the switch and those series and ended up here.
Let's go on to the hockey profit segment where you two are sometimes the hockey prophets, and I'm going to say you're the hockey prophet because do I dare say it? Yeah, I'm always right. Okay. Are you ready? Question number one is for Chris. Chris, what Carolina player would help the Oilers the most right now?
Jacob Slavin. End of story.
Okay. All right. That was quick. Number two, Mike, can the Oilers power play save their bacon this series?
If they get enough power plays, potentially, but I don't think they're going to. So
No.
the answer
Okay.
would be probably no.
All right. All right. Chris, you're going to love this one, Chris. Chris, was losing Zach Hyman a really big deal for the Oilers?
Ooh. I know he brings a lot of physicality, right? Didn't do the goal scoring as they expected this year, but yeah, top nine player come Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah, if you lose any of those type of guys, it hurts. It hurts. Yeah.
All right. Number four, Mike, could the Florida Panthers be in the finals again next year?
Well, if they can get some of their unrestricted free agents to take a bit of a discount this year, yes, because they've got Bennett, Ekblad, and Marchand all expiring, and they've got about 19 million to spend. So
Eeh,
if they
doesn't sound
can,
good.
it sounds like they might be able to keep two of them, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, they definitely have a chance again next year.
All right. Chris, number five, who do the Oilers need to stop the most in order to win this series?
Barkov. Barkov, I think, is the key guy. He's been a little quiet, and I think they need to keep him quiet and hope that their big guns turn it up.
Okay. All right. Number six, Mike, and this is going to be the last question for tonight, and I'm sure you guys will be very glad when my questions are over. Is the final series dragging on way too many days, Mike?
Far too many days. This should be in game six pretty much right now, I would say. Um, but there's a lot of off days, so yeah, it's dragged on. Very annoying that when you're expecting hockey every second night, that you got to wait every third night in some instances. So
Well, I agree. I think that this series scheduling is ridiculous. I don't know if the arenas were just full with something else going on and they couldn't post it to, or they just wanted to take more days off. I just don't understand. Three days between games, like four times or five times, is crazy.
mhm.
Anyway, guys, that took about 2 minutes and 27 seconds, so that's pretty good. Now, is there anything else that either one of you wanted to go over before we end this episode? Because there might be some people out there that might have some other thoughts, and maybe you guys can answer something that I haven't thought of asking.
Well, to get a little bit off topic of the Stanley Cup final, Chris Kreider was traded to the Ducks today. So
I didn't know. I did
yeah,
not know that.
so they traded him not for much. They traded him and a fourth round pick for a prospect and a third round pick. So
Really?
it was more a salary dump
Okay.
than anything. I don't think he was happy there after they traded Truba last year. So I think that, and now he gets to play with Truba in Anaheim. He's going into his final year of his contract, I believe.
Oh,
So I
gee,
mean,
that never.
2 years.
2 years. Okay, yep.
Maybe 2 years.
Anaheim was on his no trade list, so they did have to get him to waive that in order to go. So, and he's been with the Rangers for his whole career. He's been there a long time too. So, um, yeah. So the Ducks, I think, are actually going in the right direction with this by getting a veteran that's not. I mean, he's a little older, but he's a good locker room guy from what the teams and players have said about him. So they're still only going to get about 40 points out of him, I think, at this point in his career. But um, So yeah, so I think the Ducks will benefit a little bit with his veteran leadership, considering that they do have a lot of really young players. So we'll see what happens there.
Chris doesn't potentially agree with you by the grimace I saw on his face.
All right. So two things. Chris Drury must have something on Pat Verbeek. I don't know what it is. If it's personal, or what's going on with those two. But yeah, Anaheim's now been the dumping ground not once but twice for Ranger players, taking the contracts on, terrible contracts, and taking them on.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I think it's time to put Pat Verbeek, nominate him for my Pierre Dueron Worst GM of the League award.
Oh, gee.
I don't know. I don't know what he's doing for Anaheim. Anaheim has had top 10 picks for at least 10, 15 years, and they haven't been relevant, right? A lot of their guys have not panned out. They've switched coaches, they've switched GMs. Then he came in, he's made this trade. He brought in Trouba, he brought in Alex Killorn at a terrible contract.
Yeah.
Like, there's a limit where you're not going to win with these guys. Okay, maybe you want them to help the younger guys, but even the younger guys aren't developing, right? I don't know what they're trying to do. I know they got money to spend, and a few guys are talking about Marner. They're going to make a run for Marner. I don't understand. Like, yes, it's California. Yeah, people want to live there. It's the opposite of the tax-free states in Florida and Texas, so I'm not sure. It's not a great place if you want to make money, but that team seems to be spinning their wheels, and I don't see how Kreider is going to help that team or organization, and I really don't know what he's doing there. And yeah, he's Pierre Dueron of GMs, where you're just like, how do these guys get to these spots and make these type of decisions? It's very weird. It's very interesting. I could see San Jose doing it because they don't have a lot of veterans. But Anaheim already has these guys. They already have these old guys on contracts. I'm like, I don't know what their play is going forward, right? Because not Terry. Who's the other guy there? Zegras is supposed to be on the block for the last 2 years and wants out, right? And, yeah. It's an organization spinning its wheels. That's all I can say at this point.
Are they the Buffalo Sabres of the West Coast?
Yeah, sort of.
Buffalo has better talent and higher expectations. I think that's the difference, right? Buffalo had you look at Buffalo on paper, you're like, this team should be winning. They're just not. You look at Anaheim, you're like, yeah, I can see Anaheim. I can see why they're down there, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that the contracts by any stretch are good. The three that Chris mentioned are all terrible contracts. The reason I think that they brought these guys in is to give these younger guys some stability. And I think that Carlson and McTavish are going to have great years this year, to be honest. So
they need to.
Yes, they do. Well, they came on pretty strong the last 25 games of the season this past year. So, so there's some hope with those two players. Their defense didn't, other than Lacombe, their defense regressed. And I mean, Cam Fowler looked like a superstar when they traded him.
In St. Louis, yeah, I know.
He had more points in St. Louis than he had all year in Anaheim, and he only played like 15 games there. So,
he liked the coach. He liked the system in St. Louis for sure.
Well, apparently so. But I can see the reasoning behind them bringing in these guys in. Whether it works or not, that's the question. So, we'll have to see what happens. But Anaheim's far from being a playoff team as it is. So,
man, it's like you said, it's been a long time for them. It's been a long time for Buffalo. We've talked about Buffalo here on the show. It looks like they should be winning. They have some really good players, and they just can't put it all together. I mean, geez, unreal. So, all right. Well, I think we'll leave it there for tonight if you guys are done for this evening. And remember, folks, like, share, and subscribe, and let us know where we went wrong in the comment section because, well, we usually say something wrong. All right. We'll talk to you next week, guys. Later.
Bye. Later.